Hey, happy Monday. It's Soccer We Trusters. We have things that we want to talk to you about, like U.S. men's national team type things. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it.
Yes! What is up, everybody? And welcome to Big Stiskerud's favorite podcast at Soccer We Trust.
I'm Jimmy Trashcan Cream Cheese Conrad, also known as Jim, alongside Hollywood Heartbreak Kid Heath Pearce and Charlie Chuck Wagon Morning Footy Davies. And like always, we're going to discuss all the things that are worth discussing, like Americans vying for promotion and relegation in England. Timothy Tillman making a one-time switch from representing Germany to the U.S., just like his brother Malik, who, by the way, just got named as the Young Player of the Year in Scotland by the players. Always a big honor when that happens. We got Landon, Donovan, and MLS potentially squaring off in a little bit of a fist fight in San Diego, and so much more. But first, we got a little weekend vibe check with the guys. Chuck, how was your Mother's Day?
Mother's Day was fantastic. Tried to just make it a nice and easy day for my wife.
So what does that entail? Tell us. How many butlers and assistants did you have? Come help out.
So what it entails is me taking the kids outside and like training, playing football, lacrosse. Then we planted new veggies.
Charlie, your kids are like 6, dude. What do you mean training? Like, you know what I mean? What are you training, dude? Just let your kids have some fun.
Don't burn them out yet, Chuck.
Yeah, let them have some fun.
Out.
Jeez Louise,
man.
You know?
It's fun training.
No, you can't backtrack now, dude. He's a militant.
What are you guys working on? You guys doing pullbacks? You doing Cruyff turns? Like, what are you doing?
Oh man!
Right now we're working barefoot, so they understand which parts of their foot to use in the backyard. So it's a lot of 1v1s and just getting used to it.
Yeah.
Man,
any stanky leg celebrations? Like, what are we working on?
Of course, I make it super fun. You can imagine. I'm like, it's not like drill sergeant. You're not getting ice cream if you don't do this.
I love that
right.
Charlie doesn't call the gardener the gardener. He calls him the groundskeeper. You know, make sure that grass is pristine so his kids can play barefoot. You know, he's firing them like once a month, like the guy. I
heard. Wait.
Wembley getting fired.
By the way, you had me dying when I left the pod last time when I was going to Europa League. And you're like, oh yeah, he just wanted to dip in to say what's up.
Listen. Charlie's got 3 different surfaces at his house. He's got the Bermuda grass. He's got the Kentucky bluegrass, and he's
seasonal. Yeah, seasonal. Yeah.
It must be nice.
He tells his kids in the morning with a note like, "We'll be on field 3 this morning, boys. We'll be on field 3 overall. It rained last night, so we're gonna be on the turf today, boys.
We're gonna be on the turf.
Take the golf cart over and."
Make sure you wear the right boots. You got to make sure you got the right equipment on. Heath, how about you? Mother's Day check-in. How's everything?
Yeah, good. I had it was a mix of like, do I just like deep down, does she just want me to get out of the house with the kids and like stay away? Is that a great, version of it, or be together? So we had a little bit of both, gave some space, let her relax. And then also like had some fun together. So yeah, it was a good Sunday. How about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, great. I went to hang out with my wife's family. That's what she wanted to do, and that's what we did. My kids are a little bit older. I've got full-grown adults. You guys think that I'm,
no,
like
but did you like that, Jimmy?
I do. Her family's amazing. No. I mean, I agree with you that you think that she just wants some alone time, just away from the chaos that are kids. But she leaned into the other side of it. And also, one of my daughters had a game. And so we went to her game, and they came back and won 3-2. So, it all ended. There's some fun stuff going on. And then we went and had a nice dinner. It was nice. And so it was great. Now, before we keep moving, though, do you guys have you want to say anything to your own moms? Like any like story that you thought? Yes. Let's give a shout out to moms, I think, because they're really the glue, the real MVPs of a lot of, especially when we were kids having to drive us everywhere.
Yes.
Giving us support when we were upset, that type of stuff, that unconditional love. So Chuck, do you have any stories you want to share about your mom?
Yeah, I do. Well, one, my mom is an avid listener, and she
shout out
every single episode.
That's great.
She's hyped for this, so she watched.
I heard her favorites are the ones you actually are missing.
Big fans of Jimmy and Heath.
Yeah, when you're not there, Charlie, it's getting better. No, I look back to my youth and being just in the outdoors and having an appreciation for life and animals. In particular, I just loved nature, and it's because of her. So Mom, I love you. I know you're watching. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Wow, I teed up Charlie nice here.
I wouldn't wish for another mother or another experience because you were amazing. So thank you.
Wow, that's nice. Heath.
I hope you don't wish for another mother. Yeah. I hope you don't wish for another mother. That's great. No, I mean, like he said it as if there was like another, there was another side of it.
You got a mother-in-law now.
Yeah.
So maybe
I wish for another.
She's lovely as well.
Yeah, you got to say that.
Yeah. No, I mean, same thing. I was actually having a conversation recently with somebody just about like transformational moments within my youth career. And I remember when we were, pretty broke and it was 12 years old and the fees came out and it was like the team meetings. My mom grabbed us and we walked out of this thing. And I remember that at the time being humiliating, right? Because you're like walking out of this room because of everything that's going on, like all the parents and in there and stuff. And then magically those fees got paid. My parents did the best that they could, but it also kind of forced the hand that like, hey, we're not going to play by these rules. We can't afford it. And it helped me to get to those next steps and continue to have those opportunities. And I just look back at that almost like with like embarrassment when it happened. But when I look now and I see the decisions she made and the conviction she had and how that propelled me forward, recognizing, hey, if I want to keep going, I got to be good, right? To keep creating these opportunities. It was because of her. And same thing with Chuck, just like the appreciation for the outdoors. She's instilling that into my kids now, of just that appreciation for nature and being kind of out in the woods a lot where they live up in the mountains in Northern California. So yeah, shout out to Mom.
Okay, that's really nice. I'll just come in and say that my mom doesn't give a shit about nature, so we can just kind of move past that part. My mom doesn't listen to the show either, so I can just take shots at her. No, I will say, and I love my mom. She had me when she was 18 years old, and so she was a baby raising a baby ultimately, and so we went through a lot together in that sense. And I think as I got older, and she obviously had pressure to either have an abortion or give me up for adoption, which would have made a lot of sense given the circumstances that we were in. And I think at a certain age, very similar to what you were saying, Heath, that you start to understand that all the sacrifices that our parents are making to put you in a position to succeed. And so my mom did sacrifice a lot and gave up a lot of her own life to make sure that I had a better opportunity. And so I'm very grateful to her for that foundation she laid so that I could have success. So shout out to Mom. I think I maybe got a little heavy there for everybody, but a little right turn to heaviness. But we're going to go back to the left turn. But I love my mom and all the parents out there that are trying to provide a better situation for your kids is amazing.
Were you guys both at the third World Cup together? Is that
which one?
1950.
I've been in a lot of World Cups, Chuck. That was a nice one. Bringing us back to
you know what, all I can do. Hey, when you talk about embarrassment, Heath,
yeah,
we had a Dodge Caravan with the window popped out, and my dad put that plastic wrap.
Yeah.
Talk about embarrassment rolling up to a tournament.
That's when you had to sit for like hours of. That thing's blowing in the wind. Yeah.
He's like, hey, I can get a ride. I can get a ride with somebody else.
One more question on the mom's turn. When you guys were at games, was Mom a quiet one, or was she screaming "shoot it" or like "pass the ball"?
No, my mom was.
I remember at a certain age, like you had the mom of the kid who was like, "Shut up, Mom, sit down, like stop yelling," like those things. Like, what was Mom quiet, or was she a rah rah rah?
Listen, I'll go first. My mom was all about supporting every single player on the team, but then would like go out of her way and not give me any over the top praise. Right? She didn't want to seem like she was playing favorites, so she would only celebrate like the other kids over the top. That was my mom.
Sounds like Jose Mourinho. You
know? Exactly.
Tough love. Mine was to a certain point until like my mom was really loud and on the sidelines, like rooting us on, like the team, and being like an active member, which I find bizarre for me. Like I sit so quietly at fields now, almost uncomfortably with my kids. Like I don't know where to insert myself and like say something, and they want to hear that, right? They want to hear that feedback that you're there and you're listening, you're paying attention, and I find that a little bit hard. But like, yeah, she was like that. And then at a certain age, she got a lot quieter when you started to have like the really loud parents that were like, we're not to that point with my kids yet, but they were like, the know-it-alls, and that they know what's best for the kids, and they know what the coach should be doing. And then that's when she started like kind of fade to the background and not say as much. What about you, Chuck?
My mom was quiet as a mouse. My dad did all the yelling. So they need to be a balance. So she was quiet, always like, oh, you did a great job. My dad's like, you're not getting Taco Bell unless you score 3 goals. So
that's nice. You had the balance then.
I got treats, and the treat for playing well was Taco Bell or Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
And I made sure that I was getting one or the other.
I used to get fruit stripe.
Cinnamon twists
for Taco Bell or Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts, I would only get glazed donuts. I'd get half a dozen, so I'd get 6, and I'd finish them like that.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. You're not a role model for good nutrition.
It's crazy. But that's the generational shift. Now Charlie's kids aren't allowed sugar. He's like training them to have like 8-pack abs. If they don't have it, then they don't get that
extra piece of celery with peanut butter on it.
No like, peanut butter for you.
Can I have a cookie? I'm like, hell no. Go get an apple.
Yeah. Is it keto? So anyway, all right, let's move this along. I think we have other things to discuss that are more U.S. men's national team centric, but again, shout out to the moms. We want to get into the championship playoffs because we have 3 Americans that are vying to get into the Premier League, and I kind of want to ask you two, of course, and everybody listening, hit us up on Twitter, ISWT Pod, if you're listening on your podcast platform of choice, and we appreciate your support. But if you're watching on YouTube, let us know now. Which one of these Americans do you actually want to see get promoted? Is it Zack Steffen, who is currently, after leg 1 against Coventry, 0-0 with Middlesbrough? They're going to go to Middlesbrough for leg 2. That game is on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then we have Lynden Gooch, who plays for Sunderland. They're up 2-1 over Luton Town. That's Ethan Horvath in goal for Luton Town. It was 2-1 in that game, but it was away. It was in Sunderland. So Luton Town, I think, does have a good opportunity to push through. That second leg is on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And all those games should be crazy because then you obviously book your ticket to the championship final, playoff final. The winner of that goes to the Premier League. So, guys, do you have any – for me, I say Zack Steffen because I want to see him get back into the Premier League and kind of give the middle finger to Man City for letting him go. But that's just me. It would be very cool to see Lynden Gooch, given that Sunderland was down in League One and working their way back up. And the Newcastle-Sunderland derby obviously would be back at it. The Tyne-Wear derby, I think that would be cool. But then you got Ethan Horvath, who seems to be an afterthought. I don't know. Who are you going? Chuck, I'll go to you first. Who do you, of these 3, do you want to see get in the Premier League?
I want to see Zack Steffen get in the Premier League. I just think the story around Zack, going to Germany first from the crew, having a pretty good season, coming to Man City, injuries kind of, I guess, like stunted his growth in a way. And then he was never going to play at Manchester City when you're behind Ederson. But I think going to a better place on loan probably would have happened. And then the up and down of playing with the U.S. men's national team, coming down, Matt Turner coming up and then leaping you.
Right.
Then you don't go to the World Cup. He had to build himself back up because think about how grinded he was, grinded to the bone in terms of injuries, in terms of confidence. And a goalkeeper without confidence, you might as well be a cone. So I love his redemption story, just building himself up and prioritizing mental health. So for me, Zack Steffen getting into the Premier League and that, who's to say that Middlesbrough could even afford him if they do come up, if Man City would, have a certain price. But I would love to see him back in. But you can't go wrong if Lynden Gooch gets in. Like, great story. I want an American just to come through.
He's captain right now too of Sunderland,
exactly.
Which is even cooler.
And Ethan Horvath, if he were to make it, he's just a great representative of US. So I'm all good for
that mental fortitude there from Ethan Horvath. Heath.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Luton Town just because I like the romanticism of like smaller clubs getting into top divisions. I do like the story around that. I always worry about the sustainability of that. Of like, is that a quick elevator ride up and then back down to the second floor again, or I guess the first floor, whatever. Elevator's a bad reference. I can't figure out where to go from there with that. But like, you get what I'm saying, going up and then going back down. But I like Zack Steffen again because when I think about what we need our players to go through, and Charlie said it well, the only thing I'd add to that is like, you want them to go through these types of times, right? Not just tough times, but you want them to be able to succeed in tough times. And we're seeing this window right now of our players going through tough times. And we're all wondering, where's the next, like, where's the pot of gold, right? Where is the outcome when we talk about Christian Pulisic, when we talk about Serginho Dest, Gio Reyna? They're going through it right now. And you want to see that response, that rebound, and sort of the upside of the adversity. So I would love to see him be able to continue that, not just to prove people wrong, but that next step in his career. So that's the one I'm looking at.
That's what's interesting about Luton Town, Ethan Horvath's team. They play in a 10,000 seat stadium. So as somebody said in the comments, having a Man City or an Arsenal, Man United, those big clubs come into come having to go down there and try to get a result, I think would be pretty neat. That said, I'm still pulling for Zack Steffen for all the reasons that, all the admirable reasons, but also just that revenge, baby. Let's go. I want to see him back in there, improving his worth at the highest level. And I wonder what that means for the U.S. men's national team, because if he gets back there and Burrow gets up and he starts to play regularly, it just would make sense that he would be the guy that would start for us, assuming he's playing well, of course, when Matt Turner is just watching Aaron Ramsdale play in front of him instead. I wonder what happens with Matt Turner. I mean, how long can he stick around behind Ramsdale before? Do you think he gets the itch to move? And Charlie, I know you're one of his BFFs. Like, how long of a window do you think you give Matt Turner before you say, hey, it's okay, you've done this, you've had this experience, very similar to Zack Steffen. Okay, you're at a big club, but you're watching somebody else have success. When are you going to go and kind of push on it and be your own guy?
Well, I'd say after this season, you go out on loan. That's for sure.
You
want to play? Yes. Yeah. It's one
where
season.
though? Premier League?
Matt Turner's good enough to play on a Premier League club. So if you can ideally go to a Premier League club, then you go to a Premier League club.
What if they'd allow that? Yeah.
I think they would. On one of the teams that maybe are.
He's going to go up to Luton. What if he goes to Borough and replaces Zack Steffen? Anyway, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
That wouldn't happen.
No, that wouldn't happen. That'd be like a big fight somewhere.
But he could also go to a Bundesliga club. He could, which Zack Steffen did and had success, or he could go to a Ligue 1 club. So I'm not too worried about Matt Turner. I do think though, you get to a point where, okay, I got my feet under me. I know what to expect in Europe, and now I'm ready to play. Because what is it just to sit the bench for 5 years at Arsenal or 7 years at Arsenal? Everyone wants to play. Every competitor, and I think he knows in order to grow, just like Zack Steffen, you take a year at the club, get a good sense of what is expected of you, the demand, the ins and outs of training, all of that. Then it's, okay, I need my playing time. I need to go somewhere. So I would expect him to get a year-long loan next season.
Yeah, I wonder where that's going to be and how that works out for him. Yeah, he's already proven his thing. I think he'll be good and solid wherever he goes. So it'll be interesting. Now, let's talk about some results that also happened in England at the higher level from the championship, the Premier League, Heath. Leeds up 1-0. Patrick Bamford has a penalty. It gets saved, and the game ends up 2-2. Leeds still in the relegation zone, have some work to do. I don't know. Bamford's miss ultimately makes the biggest difference. Newcastle obviously has plenty of attacking power and probably would have found their way back into the game. But 2-0 under Sam Allardyce, I think they would have maybe found a way to grind out the rest of that result. Maybe they scored too early. Any thoughts on Leeds' precarious situation with 2 games left to go? I mean, they have West Ham away and Tottenham at home in the last 2.
Yeah, it's going to be, there's not much to say other than the fact that they got to win at least one of those, right? I don't like you could get a point in each of those, and I just don't like the chances of Forest or Everton not finding a way to just kind of be able to keep that same sort of pace. So when I look at those 2 games, I don't know which one of them is a better chance. Obviously, West Ham from a form standpoint, but they're playing away from home. And then, they get their home game against Spurs. So, yeah.
Go ahead. No. I was just going to jump in and before we get into the weeds about Leeds, or if we even want to go down that route, is this the biggest summer transfer window for American players? I just feel like we have so many different guys in precarious situations. So Gio Reyna, what's his story? Matt Turner, okay, he's going to go on loan. Weston McKennie going back to Juve. Do they still want him? Are they going to use him? What's the story? Tyler Adams, if they go down to the championship, he's going to want to go to a bigger club. Yeah. Brendan Aronson maybe stays. You got all these guys. Malik Tillman, is he going back to Bayern? Cameron Carter-Vickers, should he make a move to a bigger? I mean, we got guys all over the Mark McKenzie. It's crazy. We got guys all over the place.
This is the issue of having most of our top players in the national team all around the same age and same phase of their careers, is that we're now seeing this window of like all potential stars, right? Now we've hit a little bit of a ceiling for a lot of these players. Some are playing at bigger clubs, smaller clubs. We got a number of them that need those changes. And we're kind of still missing that. When I think about through the lens of the national team, we're still missing a lot of that foundation that we need. Some of these players that are going to consistently play. Maybe it's at a smaller club, but for the next 6-7 years, they're going to play consistently at a Premier League club that might not be Chelsea, but it's a Premier League club, right? Or I guess we have that with Ream and Robinson at Fulham, but or I guess specifically Robinson for the long term. And so it is a chaotic window for a number of reasons, but I worry about that because it's not that easy to just go to the next club once you've gotten to a certain level. It's not as simple as just moving and everything's going to be good.
I feel like we should take account because we have Serginho Dest, we got Yunus Musa, Timo Weah could be on the move. Charlie, hold your thoughts. Everybody hold your thoughts. We're going to take our first and only break. Actually, we have another break later, but our first break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we'll dive into this a little bit more. Don't go anywhere.
Italy's best clubs and brightest stars bring show-stopping skills and unbelievable thrills in the fight to the finish for the Scudetto. Stream every Serie A match live on Paramount Plus.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to In Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Hollywood Heath Pearce. And we just want to let everybody know that In Soccer We Trust is more than a YouTube-first podcast. It's a community. And now you guys can rep that community with official In Soccer We Trust gear, only found on the Paramount shop. And if you would be so kind, Charlie still hasn't gotten that one thing he was looking for, so you can get something for him as well. Discover t-shirts, mugs, sweatpants, laser engraved pint glasses, hats, mahogany panels, just like Charlie has in one of his many homes, water bottles, and more to show your friends and family what's up. So right now, In Soccer We Trust listeners, you're going to get 20% off your order when you use this podcast exclusive code SOCCER20 during checkout. Okay, that's SOCCER20. It's only available for our listeners. So head over to ParamountShop.com and go find us and go order some of your kick-ass In Soccer We Trust gear. All right, Chuck, I definitely put a muzzle on you before that break about this, but we are on the precipice, I think, of a very incredible summer transfer window for our U.S. men's national team player pool. We could go down the list, and it seems like most of our guys need to find a home. I feel like once Tyler Adams gets healthy, he's the one that I think might be cherished the most. Whoever's going to buy him is definitely going to want to, assuming Leeds go down, are going to want to make him a focal point. But everybody else, I don't know. It's got to gets a little more sketchy. So I don't know where you want to start, which players you want to start with, but there are a lot of them that need to find maybe some new homes for the upcoming season.
Well, I'll start with Cameron Carter, and that's a player who is the best defender for the Scottish Premier League champions Celtic. Their coach Ange Postecoglou is rumored to maybe be in the running for the Tottenham job. Now, how funny would that be for him to go to Tottenham and then bring Cameron Carter-Vickers, who came from Tottenham, back to Tottenham to play, which would be epic. So I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is ready for the next step. I mean, even Joe Hart just was talking about his resilience and his consistency, that he's a top-notch center back. So I'd love to see him. I think Mark McKenzie is probably 1 year away from making a big move, scoring goals, which is great. Anthony Robinson is being.
They chucked it in, by the way, man. They came into the postseason in first place, and now they've lost 2 of their first 3. They're not going to win that playoff now. Sucks for Mark.
Yeah, but I mean, long term, it's you're still playing.
Good starting year, another good year for.
Good for him to be now considered, a lockdown starter and someone who can score goals off of set pieces. Anthony Robinson been rumored to move. I think a move would be great to go to a bigger club, a more high-profile club. Serginho Dest, definitely a move. Just needs to go somewhere where he's going to play. Even if it was going back to maybe not so much Ajax because they're not in European competition. They're out right now in terms of Champions League and Europa League. So maybe not the right move, but he needs to get to a club where he's going to be playing consistently. And because right now you could see he's lacking confidence and sharpness. Joe Scally, he'll probably stay. I don't see him moving.
So he's one of the few that I think would stay.
Yeah.
But then you got Miles Robinson, right? He's going to be free after this upcoming season, if I'm not mistaken, from Atlanta United. You have Austin Trusty. What's his future look like? Because from what I understand, Arsenal probably won't bring him back, even though they're in the market for a center back. I don't know if Austin Trusty's going to be the guy. And from what I understand, Trusty won the Player of the Year award for Birmingham. So that's a pretty big deal. And I assume they're going to try to want to lock him in. So that he's another player that I think is interesting. Speaking of Austin Trusty, I just got back from Denver. My brother graduated from the Fire Academy there this past weekend, and I spent about an hour and a half in a coffee shop, very Heath Pearce-esque, with Robin Fraser, the coach of the Colorado Rapids. And we spoke about Austin Trusty and how he's had all the tools and the gifts. It was more about just kind of getting out of his own way mentally. And some of he had a little bit of entitlement when he first joined the team. And with Robin, obviously one of the most experienced center backs in MLS history, and somebody I looked up to for many, many years and still do. He just was working on him with that part of the game. And then when he made the move and now obviously he's taking these big steps. So it was very cool to kind of get that whole kind of background and context with Austin Trusty, but he thinks he can be a tremendous player. And as he's already proving, but just as you go down the list though, and it's crazy, you got Brian Reynolds. Is he going to stay in Belgium?
Yunus Musa is another big one.
Chris Richards,
Eric Palmer-Brown. Trois just got relegated in France. Like, is he going somewhere else? Like, there's so many guys. Luca De La Torre, I guess he started to settle in at Celta. Maybe he's in the Joe.
He's not going anywhere. Gio Reyna. I'd say the biggest ones are Yunus Musa, because it seems even if Valencia do stay up, that he's going to be moving. So where is that? Because he's been rumored to Liverpool, he's been rumored to Arsenal. So we're talking massive clubs, and not the clubs where he's going to be playing every match.
Right.
That's a huge leap from Valencia to one of those big clubs. I know he can play at those big clubs, but playing every match, I think that's a bit of a stretch, especially if you're a player who's not known for scoring goals or creating goals. You're a player who's good in possession and building the game and breaking through pressure on the dribble. But to play at those big clubs and to stay on the pitch, you have to be a game changer and one of those sometimes in some cases match winners from midfield. And he's not there yet. Not that he can't get there, but right as of now. So I don't know if taking up the biggest leap is what's best for him. I think another step in the right direction. Yeah. Good. And then Gio Reyna, I mean, when he plays, the guy's scoring for Dortmund off the bench. You would think he'd get more playing time. And it seems like he's still far from it.
It was a tap in, but yeah.
No, it was
literally on the goal line.
But. I know, but it doesn't matter. You know that doesn't
semantics.
Matter.
That's semantics.
Semantics. And it was the 6th goal.
Semantics.
But,
can we just celebrate Gio Reyna?
Yeah.
Come on,
I'm celebrating, man. I love Gio Reyna.
He came straight with the hate. You go,
I mean, it was like, it was literally on the goal line. But like, I agree with you though. I mean, what about Premier League, for example? If we're talking about Leeds, 3 players. I mean, obviously we think Weston's he's got to find a move, right? He's not going to necessarily just go back to
if they go down, I think Brendan Aaronson's the only one that stays at the club. I think they have to sell Tyler, and I think Weston goes back to Juve.
Yeah, because they can't sell Brendan.
Yeah,
they have to keep him and try and make it work. He's been going through a difficult time, I can tell you that.
What about Tessman and Busio in Italy? Second division. These were both guys knocking on the door of the national team. That team struggles for the year. Tessman was. I really liked Tessman when he was in MLS. And some of the games, he was actually been better than Busio this year in Italy. But
he's played more than Busio.
Where do you go with them? They were both sort of the neck. They're still both really young, but they were both sort of knocking on the door of the national team. Now they're way deep in the depth chart.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Busio. I heard that he won't be re-signing with Venezia, so he's going to be making a move. But they really have come around on Tessman. They like Tessman a lot. He's played a lot of games for them, and I think Busio was maybe a better fit for their Serie A aspirations and how that was played. But down in Serie B, it's just the physicality, I think, of it is just a little bit too much for Busio. Whereas Tessman, that dude's a tank, So I think that kind of fits his mold a little bit more. But
the 3 big ones are Christian Pulisic, Timothy Weah, and of course Ricardo Pepi. Those are the 3 big ones because I expect all
Ricardo
of them.
Pepi, Serginho Dest. I mean, you gotta his whole future feels like it's in doubt. Where does that guy go? I don't know,
guys. It's I mean, we think
these are all good things.
You think Timothy
3
Weah
years ago, we'd never have these. We'd have one conversation about a player like 3 years ago.
I know Timothy Weah is playing, but if you're Timothy Weah, are you saying I don't want to be a left back and a right back at this club anymore?
Yeah, I mean, he's played literally everywhere, which is good because you're like, I have the football IQ to play in every position on the pitch. But at the same time, you're like, this isn't helping me. If I want to solidify a spot with my club, with the national team, and make the most of my potential, I have to pick a spot, either being an outside back period or being a winger, or we haven't even got to see him as a 9.
Do you think he needs to go to a bigger French club? Like, what's his next step? I mean, let's realistic. I mean, maybe Italy. No. I'd be interested to see him in Italy. But where does
put on his Pops AC Milan jersey?
That would be sick, by the way. Where does Timo Weah realistically go next? I don't know if there's any clear cut there's teams out there, of course, but are they going to be better off than where he's playing at Lille? Does he need to take just a slight step back to get that bigger step forward? You know, he's 23 right now, so he's got plenty of time still. I don't know, Chuck, resident attacker.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I don't know. He's an outside back now. Maybe Heath should go first.
No, Serie would be a great move for him. But he's also been rumored to go to Spain, and I think Spain he'd do well. When you have pace in a wing position in Spain, I think you can do extremely well.
Interesting. I wonder, Sevilla wouldn't be a bad shout. I mean, they're kind of struggling. You could learn a little bit from Jesus Navas about whipping in a good ball. Not that he can already, but Heath, what are you saying about Timo Weah?
I don't know, man. Like, he's one of my favorite in the national team, specifically because he makes the game predictable for us. And I think with the players that we have, we need some, sometimes we've all played with that guy. Take a touch, set up the cross. You know the cross is coming, and he's got like you need.
Hey, name him.
Eddie Lewis was one. Like Eddie Lewis was one that like you knew once he set that ball up, he was going to whip in a dime. And having players that had that predictability, you knew where it was going to go. Whereas when you have a lot of these dribblers in the modern game, you don't know, is he going to cross? Is he going to dribble? Does he know what he's going to do? Is he trying to figure out? And that rhythm of play is hard. So when you have players that can put in a dangerous ball or a good ball, get down to the end line and whip it in, it changes the dynamic of chance creation. So he's got to go somewhere where he can. I still think he's an attacker. In full transparency, I haven't watched him play fullback. I would love to see somebody like him become a committed defender because of the tools he has going forward. But I'm not sure what the right next move for him is, because he is playing consistently. I just don't know what level is he at as a player that he's going to go maybe a step up and play consistently.
He's playing well.
Yeah. The beauty of this topic, though, is that we got plenty of time to air it out. So maybe we focus on one or two guys per week about the reality of that, and maybe we can get some transfer news from somebody of consequence. I don't know, maybe Fabrizio Romano to come on and talk about it a little bit. But let's now pivot over to MLS. They had a big rivalry weekend, and I was in Denver. I didn't get to go to this game because I had a late flight, but there was 8 red cards overall in rivalry weekend, but the Rapids, they ended up losing 2-1 to the Philadelphia Union, and there was an injury time brawl where Barrios pushes Andre Blake. Like Andre Blake, the goalkeeper for Philly, is trying to shield the ball out for, off past the end line, and Barrios pushes him, and then it's a full-on brawl, and guys are tackling each other and spitting and all kinds of fun stuff that was happening. There was another good game. Austin hosted FC Dallas. Jesus Ferreira scored late. Then he did the Messi Clasico celebration where he held up his jersey. That's obviously sent some people into a tizzy that I think is unnecessary. The guy's just excited to score a big goal against a big rival. I don't know what the big deal is. We got some new manager bounces for Chicago Fire, beating St. Louis City 1-0. The Red Bulls beat NYCFC 1-0 as well. The Galaxy beat San Jose Earthquakes 2-1. There's a little fun fact, though. Matias Almeida, who didn't help the Quakes all that much, I was expecting more from him, ended up winning the Greek championship with AEK Athens this past weekend. He's won titles at every club he's managed. I'm talking River Plate, Banfield, Guadalajara, and AEK, but he couldn't do it with the San Jose Earthquakes. So MLS is a difficult league, baby. I'm just saying. Anything that stands out for you guys, MLS rivalry weekends, there was a lot of cracking affairs, as I like to say. Heath, I'm coming to you first.
Oh man, I mean, I did.
Which game did you call?
Houston, Seattle. There was 2 red cards in that one. Hector Herrera was sent off with a second yellow. You had a super high challenge send off early on from Bassi. And then there should have been, I personally think there should have been a 3rd red card in that game for a flying elbow later on, but it was literally, Seattle played up a man for 70 minutes and then played up 2 for the final 15-20. And then only scored basically in stoppage time with the cross, which is kind of crazy to see. Like when you have those games, you're kind of like, oh man, when you're on the field, you know it. When you're even in the booth, you're like, this is going to change the whole dynamic. It's going to be a completely kind of different thing. But Houston defended so well for so long. And Seattle, I just expected more. They ended up getting the win. But yeah, seeing all those red cards in that heated after a 30-minute also lightning delay it was almost an hour delay was pretty crazy.
That was the first goal that Houston Dynamo have given up at home all season.
Yeah.
So shout out to Ben Olsen and what he's done. I've actually been pretty impressed with Benny in Houston. Okay, Chuck, take it away. What are your thoughts on MLS rivalry weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I got to call the Revolution game versus Inter Miami. Inter Miami had Joseph Martinez score again, so his third goal in as many games in all competitions. And you looked at Ruiz as a young 19-year-old midfielder who got the goal and the assist. He gets a red card, second yellow for time wasting, but he was kind of reckless with his challenges. Either way, I love his attitude. He kind of reminds me of a Martinez with Philadelphia, just a player who's kind of ready to tackle anything, not going to take any type of anything in the midfield, just be hard, challenge. And then Kremaski is another young player next to him. So you look at their two midfielders, they're young, they have a lot of energy, but they're not so much a 10. So Campana and Joseph Martinez are kind of on an island, and they hope that they're in transition, wingers can break through and provide them with the service, or they just hope for the magic between the two, that something is going to happen between those two. But the Revs just had the game, but they just gave it away to Inter Miami. It was nice to see Ruiz though, because you could tell he's got a lot of quality. And I think we should talk about Toronto and Montreal.
Yeah,
Toronto only had 2 shots in the whole game against a Montreal side that is not the strongest, although they're starting to come up, and 0 on target with Bernardeschi, Insigne. They traded for CJ Sapong and still nada.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's the fourth consecutive clean sheet shutout for Montreal. First time that's happened in their history, and 4 straight wins for them. And there probably needs to have a big conversation about Toronto FC in general, and Bob Bradley and what his future looks like, because it's not going to be looking good if they keep playing like this.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to point this out, and you guys are going to hate this because you know what it is, but Buck, Wolf, Kremashi, Vargas, McGlynn, Pukstas, it's a lot of midfielders we're putting on the field right now for young Americans. And dare I say, somebody in that group is going to do something towards 2026. And we've talked about we've talked about MMA being the most locked sort of thing on the field.
Whoa.
But multiple years out.
Who in that group is going to get through?
We're talking about 2.5 years from now. Or is it 2 years?
You think of those young players, one of them is going to push into the midfield of the current U.S. Men's national team?
MMA is hurt. One of them will be hurt. That's what Heath's trying to say.
Heath
is putting that into the world. One of the MMA is going to be hurt.
You honestly think one of those young players will come into this midfield now?
All I'm saying, I didn't say now. I said
in the 2026 World Cup. Yes, the current midfield.
I mean, statistically, one or two of our young players are going to emerge for that roster.
Of the players he just named, that's who he's going out and saying is going to break into this current midfield right now. You think that?
I didn't say that. I said there is a conversation that needs to be had.
What's that conversation?
What do you mean? We got Tyler Adams hurt. He's hurt a lot. You've got Yunus Musa not playing as much right now. Depends on where he goes.
He cannot play for a year. He's still playing over any of them. Okay.
People say that. You just brought up Kremashi. Like, I'm telling you, in 2 years,
you guys can't see Chuck's face.
Same way.
Kremaski? You're saying Kremaski can get in this team?
I'm saying it's worth talking about. Also, Shakaris. I'm saying we have a number of players.
Even your kids say, Dad, stop it. They said, Dad, stop.
Yeah. No, hey, listen. If you're not hopeful of the players coming through our pipeline right now, then we got problems, man. We got problems.
Ain't nobody saying hopeful, but don't you dare say one of these young players is going to get into this 2026 World Cup team and play in the midfield over a McKinney, a Yunus Musa, even De La Fuente. I mean, not De La Fuente.
De La Torre,
McKinney, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, Brendan Aronson. You go down the line. You think one of these kids is going to break into that 2026 midfield?
Charlie, your thought that you think our national team is going to be the same in 2 years right now?
I'm not saying that. I'm not. Hell no, am I saying that? What I'm saying is the players you named going into the midfield.
I gave examples of players that are breaking through right now that are midfielders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my point is, those midfielders you named are not breaking in to this current U.S. men's national team midfield for 2026.
Chuck doesn't like the young players of our national team.
I love Noah Buck. He's a baller. But to say he's going to take displace
Chuck doesn't like young players.
These guys now for 2026.
Just say it, Chuck.
It's too soon, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's the whole point of hedging, Chuck. You've got the easy part of the argument. I'm talking about kids in their first year of playing. That's saying something. You're taking the easy side of the argument and just saying, of course not. Well, of course not. Until you get knocked out, that's of course the easy argument. I'm saying we've got a large crop of midfielders right now coming through. Somebody is going to push and knock on the door. Somebody. And to think that all these players in our national team right now, especially our midfield, have free reign over the next 2 years, and we just spent 15 minutes talking about how everybody needs to move, everybody needs to play, everybody needs to figure it out. A lot can change in those 2 years. Players can get a lot better in those 2 years, and top players can also fall off in those 2 years. So I'm saying we're creating a size pool of players of quality, young, teenage talent. 3 of those guys are still eligible for the next U20 World Cup.
Hey, we got our first, I think this might be our first ever double trigger. We got Charlie and Heath both triggered at the same time, and I've got plenty of time for it. Yes. We're going to take our second and last break of It's Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we'll see if they're still triggered or whether they're going to be friends after this. I don't even really know, so don't go anywhere.
Still be triggered and friends.
Absolutely magisterial here.
Welcome back to It's Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy, alongside Charlie and Heath, and we appreciate your support. Just going to get out in front of that and hit likes and subscribes and leave us 5-star reviews and tell us how much you enjoy the show. That would be great. We'd like that a lot. We're in the middle of an argument, but we had to take a break about whether any of our U20, let's say our U20 World Cup roster right now, will actually push through and be part of starting for us in 2026, which is where Charlie took it. Charlie says no.
No.
Statistically, I think there probably will be 1 or 2 players that end up becoming very valuable for us. And I put air quotes around very valuable because it could just be coming off the bench, like a Kevin Paredes or.
But that is not the names that he suggested. He's saying players right now that are playing in MLS, these young players right now, who will eventually take, once if they fulfill their potential, will make a move overseas. And then they will start to play. And after 2026, for 2030, for instance, maybe that's when they break in. What I'm saying is the current group of players he just listed, Noel Buck included, who I'm a big fan of, I watch him every week with the Revs, is not going to be playing right now over a Tyler Adams, a Weston McKennie, a Yunus Musa, a Luca De La Torre, a Gio Reyna, a Malik Tillman, Brendan Aronson, all of the players who are currently already in the pool, I'm saying for 2026, and that could change of those players. But I'm saying the young players right now, they have a long way to go. 2026 is too soon, in my opinion. That's
so what about Quinn Sullivan's little brother, who's 15 right now? I mean, he could be our. Is it Kevin Sullivan? Look at Charlie.
He's 2030.
Look at Charlie's out.
He's 2030. Hey, I got him. Hey, Charlie doesn't like young players. Clearly, what's his deal? Hey, I will say this though.
I got him.
I never said that he's gonna. I never said come 2026 they're gonna.
I hooked the Marlin right here. Oh, he's back. He's back.
I do think there's pressure to be had on these guys, and they had no pressure before. There will be pressure come 2026.
I love that. I got.
Do I think the upside of a Yunus Musa is generational? Yeah, I mean his upside is one of the best we've had in a long time. But I do think with the pool of players and the large pool of players, there will be pressure for them to be good. If they're not playing for a full season, I don't see it.
I could see one of these guys breaking in as like a super sub, but I don't see them replacing MMA.
Now I think this is just a bit. You guys are trying to light my hair on fire because y'all talking some wild stuff right now. Y'all talking some absolute wild. My brain's gonna explode.
You can agree that 1 or 2 of these guys could potentially be a super sub for us. That's possible. That's more possible than what Heath was suggesting.
Yeah,
I didn't suggest anything. These guys will put pressure on MMA. There will be somebody that puts pressure on MMA
in 2026.
What?
Push. I say Heath was suggesting Kramaski, Ruiz. They're going to be pushing out Yunus Musa, Weston, De La Torre, Gio Reyna. All see you later. You're gone. It's this new group of players coming through. Going to push you out in 2026. God.
Hey, nobody saw.
Okay,
wait.
The
trajectory of most of these guys until we saw the trajectory of most of these guys.
Well, no, this is a good segue. Let's talk about Timothy Tillman then, because obviously we talked about Malik getting that award for the Young Player of the Year in Scotland. Congratulations to him. That's a very big deal, especially when other players vote on it. It's always meant a little bit more when you win those types of awards, your peers, as opposed to the journalists or whatever when they give you awards. So, but Timothy Tillman was he came through Greuther Fürth in Germany, and apparently when he left to go to Bayern's youth academy, the Greuther Fürth sporting director said that was the most talented player we've had in 30 years. He ended up working his way due to injury and stuff happening, going back to Greuther Fürth, helping them get promoted to the Bundesliga. They ended up going right back down. But now he's made the move to LAFC, playing for a guy that should be running for mayor in Germany, Steve Cherundolo, who knows the German player mentality quite well, of course, given his playing experience, and he's thriving. He's thriving as the number 8. And I think the highest praise that we can give to Timothy Tillman right now is that he's pushed Jose Cifuentes to the bench. Now, Cifuentes played, 30-plus games for LAFC last year when they won the Supporters' Shield and then MLS Cup. He had 7 goals and 6 assists. And so for Cherundolo to actually give that much responsibility and trust to Tillman when Cifuentes is sitting right there is quite interesting, and I think really speaks to how well Tillman's been playing. Now, he is an 8. Chuck will come to you because you're super hot right now, and I want to get you as raw as possible about Timothy Tillman. He's now saying he's going to make the one-time switch to the U.S., from Germany to the U.S. Is there room for Timothy Tillman, who's 24 years old, to really push those other guys, or is he just going to replace the Kellen Acostas as the next guy up if somebody gets hurt? Is that where you see it?
One, I love this switch because if you said he could make a push for 2026 and get into that lineup, I would say yes, because he's a step above everyone else for sure, no doubt. If you said Timothy Tillman 2026 is actually could break in, facts. Kramaski and Ruiz and Buck, no. What do you mean why?
Why? He's having his first good season of his career
because of his talent. What do you mean why? Because of his talent level, because of his experience. That's why. He's already been in Europe. There's a big difference between a Tillman and Kramaski and a Tillman and Ruiz or a Tillman and Buck. Massive difference. Watch them play. You can see it with your own eyes. It's not even close.
Okay. Heath is our LAFC expert. What are you saying about Tillman?
I mean, what do you want me to say?
Are you pro Tillman making the switch? Are you excited for him? Do you think he has a chance to break into our team?
Like the argument around Tillman? No, I mean absolutely. He's got quality tools, but Charlie's saying that this guy's going to knock off MMA in our midfield. This guy is going to knock off MMA. This guy, 24 years old, came from the 2nd division in the Bundesliga, and Steve Cherundolo made some good points. He'll be 26. Yeah. He'll be 26. Not unknown. Not a kid. Not a child. Not developing. We see what his ceiling probably is, what he could be. I understand what a coach said. I understand what the coach said about him being the best talent in 30 years. And you think this guy's going to knock off MMA?
No, I think.
No, that's what you said. You said that. You said that. I mean, I do think he's got a much better chance of making the 2026 squad than these young kids that are like 17.
No, don't you dare now. Don't you do a you now.
No, don't odds now.
Equation.
No.
After you pass on Kramaski and Ruiz and
I'm talking about. I said now. If I look at him now, where he is 24. Yeah.
Look at him. He's doing this. He's doing a backspin here.
What I'm talking about with those guys.
Rewind the tape. The tape.
He's in a dryer right now.
What I'm saying to you is that it's really easy to take the side of MMA over 17-year-old kids right now in their first professional season. That's a really easy position to take. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it, but when I'm talking about Tillman, he's 24. It's a lot more predictable to know that he could make the 2026 squad with what he's showing now.
Okay.
Because of what he's showing now.
And what those young players, what is he showing now compared to what those young players are showing now? In, mind you, just 2 years of where they are now and where they need to be in 2026 compared to where Tillman is now and what he can be for 2026?
Because these are young kids we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means we don't have any idea what their ceiling is. I'm talking about volume of players right now. One of these kids could be a star. We're not seeing it now, but they're 16, 17, maybe 18 years old playing consistent first team minutes. We've seen players like a Tyler Adams start at that age and make spectacular jumps over a couple of years. Tyler Adams was a couple of years that he made a massive jump where he went to Europe and made a huge jump as a player. But he was playing consistently, and we were saying, yeah, he's good because he's 16. He's good because he's 17. And then we're like, dude, this kid's good. And we saw that early on, but nobody could have predicted his trajectory in the period or window of time that he had that, right? That he's literally one of the first players you put on the team sheet for Leeds when he's healthy.
No, anyone around him in the league also saw that he had that in him. There's a big difference because you saw Tyler Adams and you said that kid is special. He is the guy. He is the way he plays.
You've brought up Noel Buck almost every single week the entire season so far.
Yeah.
And you're saying he doesn't have an upside to be a Tyler Adams?
I didn't say that. I said 2026. That's too soon for No Buck. As good as he's playing right now. 2026 is too soon for those players you listed. That's my point. Because you said of those group of players that you said can come in and make some noise in that 2026 team. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they can't be superstars. They can't go to Europe. They can't do this and that. I'm saying 2026 is too soon given the players who are in midfield right now, the pool. None of those players can break in over that unless there's a number of injuries and a number of players who just completely fall off the planet. That's what I'm saying.
I love this comment here from Andy.
Well, at least it's set in stone. We're going to find out.
Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp are now on In Soccer We Trigger, as Heath said in our little comments there. It's the new name of our show. Let's move this along because I think I want to get your guys' raw takes on this Landon Donovan versus MLS situation in San Diego, because for everybody that doesn't know, Landon Donovan is the head coach, president, owner of – he's like the Chuck Davies of Boston, you know? Like Chuck's got his hands everywhere. He owns everything. But so Landon Donovan has at the San Diego Loyal, but it doesn't look like San Diego Loyal is going to be involved with this MLS expansion team that potentially might get announced here in the next few weeks. What's interesting, though, is that MLS named their MVP award for Landon Donovan. It's called the Landon Donovan MLS MVP award. So I just find that to be like the vibes aren't right there. If they're going to go to San Diego, it's interesting. And so I wonder how this all plays out, or if there's just some political gamesmanship here. Actually, I'm going to turn it to our business expert here, Heath Pearce, who lives closest to San Diego out of us three. Heath, what are you hearing on the ground there?
Well, I'm here on the ground, just reporting live from
Snapdragon Stadium.
And it looks like we're going to have ourselves a little bit of controversy. No, I think, look, we've seen this before. If you go back 15 years to the New York Cosmos, the New York Cosmos walked around New York for months and years talking about how they were going to be the second team in New York for MLS, right? And they didn't have the firepower that City Football Group clearly have. And they didn't have the ability to execute that. So somebody else came in. I believe San Diego, or maybe the same ownership group or another ownership group, was going to or have been bidding for Major League Soccer based on the ability to build out a stadium and all these other things. I don't know if that's specifically the Loyal or if it was another group that Landon was part of, but if you remember, they turned down the ability to build this like sports park. That's all part of the market. So they went into again, I might be getting these timelines completely wrong in terms of how it started and where it's at now. So I don't want to speak too much on that. But the reality is now you have the Mansour group out of Egypt that have the Right to Dream Academy. They acquired Right to Dream, which includes FC Northland, my former club, the Right to Dream Academy in Ghana, as well as what they're building now in Egypt. And they're trying to then continue that on a border city for the United States. It sucks for San Diego. It sucks for Landon Donovan. It sucks for all those things. I just don't know whose bid is more important or more impactful or what it all means, because I haven't seen the details of all of that. But it's not the first time that it's happened before. Multiple bidders trying to get a single bid in a city.
I'll jump in and say that they're asking the expansion fee could be $500 million. And I don't think that the San Diego Loyal are willing to pay that much, whether they have it or not, I think. But that's what I'm hearing. And then the last expansion fee was Charlotte, and they paid $325 million to get into MLS. So 500 would be a very significant jump. Obviously, a very desirable market. I guess, Chuck, do you think San Diego is the market we should be going into? I know there was Vegas, Sacramento. I was heartbroken for them because they had plans to really do it. But again,
they didn't have what they needed was a Mansour in Sacramento. If they had somebody who was willing, because what ends up happening, it's not 500 million, it's 500 million. And then it's capital call year after year. And you need somebody with a certain level of financial capability to pay those losses year after year. You could, however you do the business side of your, some clubs could break even or whatever, but you've got to meet the capital call every single year. And Sacramento never had that person that was willing to write those checks. Sorry. Go ahead, Chuck.
No, go ahead, Chuck.
I think San Diego would be massive. And yeah, I feel for Landon Donovan. I think he's obviously probably got some ownership in San Diego Loyal. So it's time to probably sell those shares. But it's we remember going to Chula Vista as kids, and I just felt like San Diego always deserved a professional team, especially being so close to Mexico and having such an influence with the youths in this country. And I just feel that it's the right spot. I mean, not to say that we couldn't get another spot in. I'm seeing the comments here, Phoenix or Las Vegas. I know Michigan, because they were getting 100,000 when Liverpool played there a couple of years ago. There are a number of spots throughout the country that could be hot spots. You could get another spot down south in the Midwest for sure to continue to grow the game, but you can't go wrong with San Diego.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of players will want to play there too.
There now, so it'd be nice.
No, it would be nice. I think I remember when Steve Cherundolo and I were still playing, he's like, well, if San Diego ever gets an MLS team, that's when I'll come back to MLS. That's because that's where he grew up. So it's kind of funny that now it's all happening and he coaches in MLS. All right, final thoughts for everybody. I'm going to go first before we let everybody go, and we'll see everybody on Thursday. I want to give a shout out to our men's national team for beach soccer. We beat Mexico 5-0 in the CONCACAF championships. One of the players, Ricardo Carvalho, scored for the U.S. He's on my TST team, my 7v7 team that's trying to win $1 million and carry North Carolina in a couple weeks. Yeah, shout out. This is my squad right here, me and Bees' team. This is our New Jersey Sunday Athletics. Thank you so much for outfitting us. But I wanted to give it up. 5-0 is a big deal. We beat El Salvador in the semifinals, who they beat us the last time this championship was had. So we got a little revenge there, and then obviously beat our biggest rivals. So a shout out to those guys for pulling off the big win. That's a big deal. Those guys are super talented. It's hard to play on the beach. Final thoughts, Charlie Davies.
I'm happy that me and Heath had this good debate. So we will see in 2 years how these guys do. But no, this goes down as like probably one of our best pods. I feel like, because it was most emotional. We covered a lot. You had me walk out. So hey, this was fire, and all the comments were also grade A.
Great.
They're talking about burritos now in San Diego. So let's go.
That's I could do a whole day of that. That's the California burrito. Keep those French fries out of my burrito, but they are good.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, but it's not. Like there's some
burrito. It's like a breakfast burrito if you put potato in
it.
It
is really good though. It is really good.
It's tasty,
but it's not peak for me. But Jimmy, my final thoughts are, again, to clarify a few of those things. It was 2018 actually that MLS bid for San Diego was getting put together, and they had that Soccer City project was denied by the city to be able to build that whole thing out. And Don Garber openly said this is a step back, and from there, like, that's where the door opened up for anybody to come in with a different type of solution. And they're looking, not in the downtown area to be able to build this thing out. My final thought though was around, I've been watching a lot of these leagues in Europe, guys, and a lot of leagues are turning to playoff systems. I just want to point that out. I just saw in Denmark now they have the championship group or the relegation group where you break it up into like the playoffs, just like Mark McKenzie's going through in Belgium right now. I just want to say there's a little something to adding some excitement to the end of the year when teams want more games or bigger games where they play like top four teams. You stick with the same amount of gap that you have between the teams and you play out those matches. Might not be a bad idea.
Heath Pearce loves the playoffs, everybody. You just heard it here first.
I actually hate the playoffs, but I do hate playoffs. But I like playoffs. At the same time, I like the systems that they use, which is like end of the year, you break up into groups and have a different type of playoff that plays through.
Yeah, I like that too.
I like when we have 10 teams that get into the playoffs.
All right, everybody, that's the end of the show. We'll see you again on Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, as always, for listening and supporting In Soccer We Trigger. That is for this Monday show.
Wait. Trio's Burrito or Lolita's Burrito in San Diego? Trio's is like by San Diego State, and Lolita's it's like Costa Mesa, I think I want to say.
Costa Mesa is a lot higher, but you got to get your geography right there. Chuck.
Yeah, something.
Chuck, you got to get out to some of those summer houses you have, dude, because you don't remember where they are and how close they are to each other. Too much
Airbnb in those things or whatever you do to make that supplemental income. All right, take a minute to leave us a rating and a review on your favorite podcast platform of your choice. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Yes, and of course, We're on the YouTube. So thank you. We'll see you guys soon. On behalf of Des, Alex, Charlie, Heath, and me, Trash Can, Cream Cheese, Conrad, Conrad. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.